Let's look at the interesting and tricky question from the real test. Somehow I have a feeling that you might be able to come up with the answer. Which statement is different from the others? And you are presented with 4 different statements. I am on the moon. 9 plus 8 equals 16. Roses are sky blue. Theories are sweet. Do you think you know the answer? Can you pick the correct answer out of the 4 choices presented? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue to see if we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. As usual, we would need to find pattern in all the statements presented. In this case, the pattern is that the statement has true or false answer. So in case of 3 statements on the left, for example, I am on the moon, it can be answered true or false. Statement 9 plus 8 equals 16 is true, and roses are sky blue is also true. What is interesting, when I was doing research in this question, I found blue roses. If you don't believe me that roses can be blue, you can do a Google search to confirm that. If you type blue roses image and search in Google, you see a lot of examples of blue roses. This way, we've identified that the 3rd statement presented, which is theories are sweet, cannot be answered either true or false. This is why this statement stands out. So the correct choice here is answer D, theories are sweet. Hopefully you've answered this question correctly, but in case you need more questions or practice problems, please make sure to check out my ebook in the description section of this video. Here's the interesting and tricky question from the real test, but somehow I have a feeling that you might come up with the answer on your own. Which of the following comes next in this sequence? You have a sequence of 4 shapes displayed, and 5th shape was the question mark, which you need to pick out of 4 different choices presented. So choice A, lightning, choice B, sand clock, choice C, hexagon, and choice D, cube. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can come up with the answer together. Before we jump to the answer, I want to pinpoint 2 patterns. One pattern is changing color. The first shape is black, next is gray. Black, gray. So the next one in the sequence would be black, which limits the number of possible choices to A and B. Did this tip help you? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue and get to the correct solution together. In addition to changing color pattern, there is also a pattern of straight lines. You can see that shape 1 has 2 straight lines on top and the bottom. Triangle has 3 straight lines. Then the next shape has 4 straight lines. The following shape has 5 straight lines. So our next shape in the pattern should be black and also should have 6 straight lines. So the correct choice here is choice B, sand clock. Hopefully you've nailed this question on your own, or if you didn't, learned how you can answer similar questions on the test. Let me share with you some planning tips on how to maximize your test score during employment assessment test. Let me give you some tips on how to maximize your test score results. Number 1 tip is to make sure you read the question carefully and you understand what is being asked. Another tip is reading answers in full to understand the answers. And before you jump to any solutions, make sure you read through all the answers. A lot of test-based applications allow you to save answers as you go. Make sure to click the Save button if this is applicable to you. This way you don't lose your test results. If it's possible, try to focus on the easy questions first. This would allow you to answer as many questions as you possibly can and leave harder questions for the end, but making sure that you put easy answers in, and you will get credit for all of them. Another important point is using all your time productively. If you have any time left, make sure you use this extra time to validate the answers and complete extra review of the challenging questions. Another tip might be for you to validate your answers with more than one method. For example, you can use the calculator, you can do manual calculations on the paper, use common sense that would supplement your mental calculations and answers for the question. Also, you can set up a timer if test is timed. This way you know where you are in the test, and you can quickly plan and adjust based on how many questions are left on the test. And last but not least, make sure you can contact provider right away if you're experiencing issues. This question is quite tricky, but I would like to show you the solution so we can solve this interesting and tricky question together. Which shape does not belong to the group? And you have 4 choices of shapes. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue and see how we can solve this challenge and get to the solution together. In this case, shapes can be grouped by number of sides in the shape. For example, you see that all the shapes in the left have 6 sides. If you count the sides, for example, in this shape, you will see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same with the hexagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And same with the arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the correct answer here is choice A for the pentagon, which only has 5 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully you've nailed this question and answered it correctly, and now know how to answer similar questions and problems on the test. Some of you might find this question tricky, but regardless of whether you can solve it on your own or not, you will be excited to learn the solution to this real live assessment test question. Find the missing number by imagining how the clock's handle rotates. The start of the sequence will be at 9 o'clock and it ends in the middle. You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 28, choice B, 42, choice C, 14, and choice D, 44. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue to see if we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. Before we jump to the solution, I want to pinpoint the sequence. The start of the sequence is at 9 o'clock with the number 9. The next number would be 16. Next would be 23, 30, 37, then missing number, and then 51. Now let's jump to the solution. As I already mentioned, we are presented with the clockwise sequence. Following this sequence, we can calculate the difference between the next number and the previous number. For example, in case of 9 and 16, the difference would be 16 minus 9, 7. To calculate the next number, we can also do the difference by subtracting 16 from 23. This is also 7. This makes us think that the sequence might be incrementing next number by 7. If we follow the sequence, we can confirm that that's exactly the case. 23 plus 7 is 30, 30 plus 7 is 37, so the next number that we will calculate would be 37 plus 7, which would be equal 44, which is one of the choices. Let's reaffirm that our calculation is correct by adding 7 to 44. 44 plus 7 is 51, so that's the next number in the center. So the correct answer here is choice D, 44. Hopefully you answered this question correctly, but in case you need more questions or practice problems, please make sure to check out my ebook in the description of this video. And now, here's the question for you to try. Please make sure to post your answer in the comment section of this video so I can give you my feedback. Determine the missing part, and you're presented with the 3x3 square. And there are 4 possible choices. Arrow pointing in the bottom left corner, arrow pointing down, choice C, arrow pointing left, or choice D, arrow pointing right. And if you came up with the answer, feel free to post it in the comment section of this video so I can give you my feedback. Thanks for participating. Here is the tricky question from the real test, but somehow I have a feeling that you might come up with the answer on your own. Which of the following triangles comes next in this sequence? You have 5 triangles, 1 is missing, and the one that's missing is in the middle. And you have 4 different choices, A, B, C, and D, of 4 possible triangles that you can fit into this middle spot. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. Before I reveal the answer, I would like to point a couple patterns for you here. The first one is pattern of colors. This one the easiest to understand. So you have a pattern of black, white, missing black and white again. The next pattern here, you have triangles pointing up and down, up and down. And the next pattern you have here is pattern of the small shapes inside the triangle. You have moon and star, and then moon and star, all in different places inside the triangle. Do you think these tips helped you? Hopefully they did, and now you know the answer, or at least have some ideas. Now let's jump to the solution. The key to answering this question would be the pattern of smaller shapes inside the triangle. If you see, the star moves to the next corner in the next triangle. It moves from the first one to the second one, and then from the second one to the fourth one, and then from the fourth one to the fifth one. So now we need to find the triangle that has the star in the bottom right corner. You see that the only triangles that match this pattern would be choices A and B. And this is where the pattern of colors comes in to help us. If we imagine that there is a bigger pattern of colors where you have black, white, gray, and gray triangles may not be represented in the picture yet, we can see that the choice A makes sense because this would be adding a gray triangle into the pattern of black and white triangles. This is why the correct answer here is choice A. Let's recap. The reason choice A is the correct choice because it matches the pattern of colors, it matches the pattern of smaller shapes, and it also matches the pattern of pointing up in the triangles. This is really confusing question, and hopefully now you know how to answer similar questions in the test. Here's the question from the real test. Some of you might find this question tricky, but regardless of whether you can solve this or not on your own, you will be excited to learn the solution to this real-life assessment test question. What word can you form using all the letters in the box? And you're presented with 9 letters on the left. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the solution on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. Obviously, there are many words that can be formed with the given letters. But the best word and the correct word would be the one that contains all the letters. To answer this question, you need to think of the sequence. Start with the corners and explore possible answers. For example, if you start in the bottom right corner, you can follow the word nutrition, N-U-T-R-I-T-I-O-N. And that's the correct answer to this question. Hopefully you've nailed it and now know how to answer these types of questions on the test. Let's take a look at the test score results to see if you can better understand them. Let me give you some recommendations how to best understand your test results. Some tests use percentages, some tests use percentiles. So what is the difference? For example, if you have 80% percentage passing rate, it means that you have to answer 16 out of 20 questions correctly. Or sometimes you might get test results indicating that you're in the 75th percentile, which means that you're better than 75% of other candidates. A lot of times on employment assessment test, there is no passing score. Typically, company uses test results to compare you with other candidates. This is why a lot of times it's very important to just submit whatever you know and complete the test. This way, you might be better off than a lot of other competition. And last point I would like to make is that there might be potential point reductions for incorrect answers. Make sure you ask the provider about incorrect answers and how they handle them, and then decide if you should guess on your answers. Let's look at the interesting question, which tests your knowledge of math and ability to do calculations. If a student spent $110 for her school supplies and was left with a $6 change, what is the estimated amount she spent in buying a bag? And you present it here with the pie chart, which shows spending percentages in multiple different categories. You have printer paper, pens, sticky notes, calculator, notebooks, papers, and bag. And you have 4 possible choices. Choice A, $40. Choice C, $38. Choice B, $55. And choice D, $25. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can come up with the answer together. To solve this challenge, first thing we need to do is calculate total amount spent. And we do it by subtracting 6 from 110, which gives us $104. This is the total amount spent. In the next step, let's take a look how much money was actually spent on the bag. Pie chart typically represents 100%, and you see 36% allocated for the bag because it's represented by the dark blue color. If we multiply 104 by 0.36, we will get to the amount of 37.44. So the closest amount here is 38. Since question asks us to approximately estimate, we need to just pick the closest approximate amount, which in this case is $38. So the correct choice here is choice C, $38. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer these types of questions on the test. Here's the tricky question from the real test. What type of figure can you imagine by combining all the shaded parts in a separate one block? And you have 4 different choices: shape, letter, number, or animal. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's see how we can solve this challenge and get to the solution together. The tricky part here is combining all 4 blocks right in your memory and using your imagination to come up with the final answer. But when you combine the blocks incrementally, you add darker circles into one single image. And final image here in the sequence represents all darker circles added in one image. And as you can see, the shape of the darker circles represent letter U. So the correct answer here is choice B, letter. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer these types of questions on the test. But in case you need more questions or practice problems, please make sure to check out my aptitude test ebook in the description section of this video. Let's look at the interesting and tricky question we frequently see on the test. Determine the missing shape. You're presented with the sequence of 5 shapes. All of them are pentagons, and in each one, arrow points in a different direction. There are 3 shapes with arrow. The 4th shape has a missing arrow, and this is what you need to determine. And then there's also a 5th shape, and you have 4 different choices. All of them contain pentagons with arrow pointing in a different direction. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be the good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Did you come up with the answer? Let's see if we can solve this challenge together. To solve pattern questions, you need to determine the sequence in the pattern. And in this particular one, we have a sequence of items moving counterclockwise. To determine the position of next arrow, we need to determine the pattern. As you can see, the position of the arrow in the next figure is determined by the sequence number. For example, in the item 1, arrow points to 1 o'clock, to the first angle of the pentagon. For the second position, you need to move counterclockwise and move it into the next corner. For the next one, you need to move 2 steps because the sequence would be 2 because this is the second shape. And once you move to the second shape, you move to the 8 o'clock in the 8 o'clock corner of the pentagon. As you continue moving, your next move would be jumped through 3 corners of the pentagon, and you will be at 12 o'clock. And this is the position of the arrow we're trying to determine. So the correct answer here is choice B, pointing at 12 o'clock. And if we continue the sequence just to verify, to make sure we did it correctly, we can add 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which points us back to 1 o'clock, which is item number 5 represented in the original question. Hopefully you've nailed this question and maybe even figured it out. And I hope that my instructions give you ability to answer these types of questions in the test. And now, here's the question from the real test you can try to see how well you will do. Please make sure to post your answer in the comment section of this video, and I'll give you my feedback. The following expressions are similar, with the exception of one. Select one item that does not belong to the group, and you have 4 different choices. 200 divided by 40. Choice B, 2 multiplied by 20. Choice C, 0.2, and choice D, 20 out of 100. Feel free to pause this video and try to solve it now. And if you figured out the answer, feel free to post the answer in the comment section of this video so I can give you my feedback. Thanks for participating. The question here is quite tricky, but I would like to show you the solution, which, as you will see, is quite simple. The shaded part of the shade, follow the order. Find out what is the missing part of the square, and you're presented with the 3 by 3 square. And one box inside the square on the lower part in the middle is missing. You need to pick a replacement square out of 4 possible choices. Choice A, B, C, and D. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause the video to see if you can come up with the solution on your own. Do you think you know the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge together and get to the correct solution. As usual, to solve these types of questions, you need to look at the sequence. And sequence is determined by where inside dark triangle connects to the inside walls of the rectangle. So for example, if you look at the left and middle line, this is where the sequence is. You see that it starts with upper left, so we have upper connection and then left connection. Then goes to lower right, so we have lower connection and then right connection. Then goes to upper right, and then goes to lower left. And then this is the missing box, where we need to find the missing square. And you see that the pattern here restarts. Upper left was the first item in the sequence. So the next item in the sequence would be upper left again. So the correct choice here is choice A, upper left. Hopefully you've nailed this question. Some of you might find this question tricky, but regardless of whether you can solve it or not on your own, you will be excited to learn the solution to this real-life assessment test question. Which of the following letters does not belong to the group? And you have 5 different choices. Choice A, letter P. Choice B, letter T. Choice C, letter B. Choice D, letter J. And choice E, letter G. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Let's continue to see if we can solve this challenge and get to the solution together. Before we jump to the solution, I would like to give you a clue. Always look for patterns. And the pattern here might be sharp edges versus rounded areas for the letters. Now let's go ahead and jump to the solution. When you look at the patterns, you can notice the similarities in the letters for the given choices. All letters are combination of the curve as well as straight line, with the exception of one. The letters P, B, J, and G presented here, they all have combination of curve as well as straight line. The only letter that does not match this pattern is letter T. So the correct choice here is choice B, letter T. Hopefully you've nailed this question. Alright, I have a tricky question for you, which you might frequently see on the test. The cool thing is that you might be able to solve it, or in case you don't, I would love to show you the solution. Which of the following triangles comes next in the sequence? You have sequence of 5 triangles, and one triangle in the middle is missing, and you have 4 different choices to pick the right triangle. Choices A and B represented by gray and black triangles pointing toward the top, and choices C and D represented by white and gray triangles pointing to the bottom. Do you think you know the answer? Now might be the right time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Do you think you came up with the answer? Let's continue to see how we can solve this challenge together. Before revealing the solution to you, I would like to point at 2 patterns that we see in this problem. The first is the pattern of colors. You have black triangle, white triangle, and then missing triangle, then black triangle and white triangle. So something might be different from black and white potentially here. You also have a patterns of moon and star, and moon and star, they move inside the triangle. So you see moon and star in the leftmost triangle, then you see moon and star on the top, then you see moon on the top and star at the bottom, and then you see both of them, moon and the star, at the bottom of the triangle. So now let's jump to the solution. We have already looked at the pattern of the colors, and the sequence of colors is constant and is not changing. And we also reviewed the rotation of the shapes inside the triangle. The star shape is always in the next corner of the following triangle and is always followed by the moon shape. The assumption here is that the color of the missing triangle is different from the colors of triangles already shown. And the only color that is different from black and white is gray. This is why the next triangle is gray, and you would need to pick correct pattern for the triangle. So the correct choice here is choice A. There are two gray triangles here, choice A and choice D. But there is also a third pattern that I did not mention because it will make things very obvious. And this is the pattern of pointing. You see that the first triangle is pointing upward. The second triangle points down. So the next triangle in the pattern will be pointing up as well. And the only gray triangle that points up is choice A. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to see the patterns and solve these types of challenges on the test. Thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out our daily question challenge in the community section of this channel. I also recommend that you check downloads in the description section of this video. Please also check out resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net/resources. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this. I would encourage you to share this video with other people that might be looking for the job. This will help them to get prepared and pass assessment test faster. Please consider subscribing and following this channel. We have a community of great people helping each other to get ready and pass the test. Please leave questions, comments, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your interview and assessment test. Thanks for watching.